So I invite you to be part and parcel of this particular discussion. You can talk to us what you think about the state of the nation and what should be done, maybe to make sure like we are on the right path. So there is a common phrase that says the youth nowadays are the lost generation. So if they are lost, so who is to be blamed for this? Is it about, or maybe is the youth losing touch with the leadership, or is just the leadership very insensitive on the issues of the youth, or rather issues affecting the youth? So that is the discussion we are having there about the state of the nation, and you're invited to be part and parcel of this particular conversation. Remember, you can talk to us on all of our social media platforms. You can tag me at Auma Events. Remember to use the hashtag Primetime News, and of course I'm joined by my able young men here to have this great discussion. And of course we have Nick Mwadime, that is the National Executive Director, M-CUSA. Then Edwin Joroge Wachera, Youth Leader, Mount Kenya Region. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. And I will start with you, Mwangi. How would you describe the state of the nation today?
Good evening, Evans.
All right.
First of all, let me say good evening to my people in M-CUSA, categorically people from Nyandarua as well, also my friend there as well. The state of the nation is very peculiar because we have, let me say, in the government itself, a lot of internal wars. We've recently seen the wars between Kenya Kwanza in terms of succession politics. And we see the dollar rising by the day, very sad. The cost of the living is still high. Just, I think 2 days back, Kenya Electricity Company also announced high cost of power. The only unfortunate thing we have seen this week is the cost of fuel going down with 5 shillings. Yes, so the young people are still struggling with job opportunities. Nobody's talking about, I represent students from M-CUSA. Nobody's talking about the university funding model. Parents are taking their children to high school, right? Nobody's talking about junior secondary schools, that there's still a backlog. Nobody's talking about the healthcare systems. So we can sit down here and talk about politics from Monday to Friday, or to Saturday or Sunday. But the real issues of our country, Kenya, we really need to discuss them as a nation. So
right.
Yeah.
And of course, the same question I'll extend to you, Joroge. How would you describe the state of the nation?
Okay, thank you very much, Evans. Okay, our nation right now is at crisis. We cannot say that everything is running on smoothly or well. As you can see, the government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is now at war with the judiciary. And also the Kenya citizens right now are complaining of how hard it is to sustain themselves in this nation. We've also heard that the Azimio coalition are also saying that they'll come back and get to the roads for maandamano and the streets, whatever. So the nation is not okay. So we have to sit down and think of the way forward.
All right.
Yeah.
So what worries you the most?
What worries me the most is where the nation is headed. Because once you see that the government has 3 arms, the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, and once the 3 arms are not in understanding, then there's a very big problem, because without understanding, there's no forward progress. So as a nation, I think the president has to calm down. He has to call the judiciary. They have to speak in one term. Okay, and also the parliament. Once the parliament resumes their sittings, they should sit down and consider mwananchi wa kawaida.
All right.
Yeah.
And we'll come about the prospect of the talks. What should the judiciary and the executive actually talk about? Is there something to actually talk about? Like, what does the Constitution say about the speculated mandate from, it's clearly stated in each function and jurisdiction of each arm of the government. So are the talks necessary? But that is something that we'll talk about that. But before that, let me ask you, how will you view the direction that the country is taking right now? Do you think we are heading the right direction or the wrong direction? And what should be done?
The unfortunate bit is, Evans, we are in, see, if you're driving a car and you're going down the hill, if you're a keen driver, there's that free mode that usually geared towards it. The president has put us into that situation, whereby the ideal situation of this country, everything is unbalanced, because we expect better healthcare systems, we expect good education systems, we expect job opportunities, but day by day we see parents going home unsatisfied because of the high taxation, yet the president is keenly disobeying court orders left, right, and center, threatening the judiciary. And I want to agree here with my good friend that there's no conversation whatsoever the president can have with judiciary, because it will look very biased. Because when Azimio Coalition went to the Supreme Court, we agreed with the ruling. And at that point of time, Justice Martha Koome did not call us for a dialogue. Right now, the president, he himself calls out Justice Martha Koome with the entire body of judiciary as corrupt. Now she wants to have a dialogue. What kind of conversation are they going to have on the table? Those are some of the questions we're asking ourselves as the youth.
All right. And Jeroge, when you take a look at all these existing problems that you keep on mentioning, and this now brings the the very key aspect and the reason why we are having this conversation and discussion at this particular time. I'm talking about the youth, the young people. It is said that at least the young people constitute about 75% of the Kenyan population. That is a lion's share, if you ask me. But the existing problem keep on recycle itself, election in, election out. Is it about time now we point the finger to the right direction? Like, when you have the power to actually change the future itself, and it seems like nothing is being done about this power. You have the power, but you're not using the power. So what could be the problem, even as we point fingers to the, the leadership?
Okay, as for the youth, what I would say is that we as the young men are always taken for granted. Sorry. As you can see, we are always needed and we are promised a lot during election times. But after elections, we are forgotten. And as you can see now, I'll give you an example with the people of Mount Kenya. The young men and women who came out and voted for this government, today the government is against it. So they are now being called that they are a gang. As you can see, they are now being named names. And so as for the Kenya Kwanza government, what I would ask them is they should take consideration of the young men, because we are the future tomorrow. The existing problem that has always been there is that the leaders, these old leaders, the mature leaders who are there today, who are there tomorrow, they always hit the young men. They never support the young guys who are coming up. Like my friend here, he is in charge of very, very many young men. But as for the leaders who are already in those positions, they don't want to see such a leader rise, because they know these young men will bring change.
Okay, hold on there. That's a very interesting aspect. You say, like, I want us to put it into this context of the 75%, meaning that you have the power. You don't need that leader to actually dictate to you how you should actually, further your agenda as a young person, some sort of block. if you have this power, and from the point that you sit as a leader, what's so difficult for young people to actually rise and form this one formidable force to further their agenda and actually change the narrative and even the mantra of how the politics is being run, and even the leadership, that the change that they so much desire? Why is it so hard for that to happen?
Well, I agree totally with your statistics, Evans. And the harsh reality that we are facing as young people is we want quick fix kind of situation, whereby, as my good friend is saying here, when young people rise, they are tagged names like, especially from our region, Mount Kenya, they are tagged names like, these are Mungiki. So it becomes very difficult for us even to speak our minds or our voices. And the unfortunate situation is by, if you have, let me say, a pathological liar, like our sitting president, who is very quick and very cunning in deceiving and manipulating the young people.
Just for the record straight. Let's keep it within the decorum.
It is very true.
We have to preserve the respect for the president. And even there is a point that you mentioned, and I want clarity on that. When you say the young people when they rise and being termed as Mungiki, well, I remember in that particular meeting, actually, the convener of the meeting was Maina Njenga, the former Mungiki leader. So is Maina Njenga a young person, or what is happening in that context?
Before we get to Maina Njenga, because I was saying a point about our president, then you cut me short, Evans. The young people have been deceived into the formerly known hustler movement.
All right.
Right? Because the president understood that the young people are struggling. But we saw clearly in his appointment, there was no hustler. Where was Mama Mboga? Where was Vijana wa Boda Boda? And despite as if we can stand here and say we want to defend his actions, they're not defendable, Evans, because we as young people, our minds are set and very clear. We have the numbers, but they have the manipulation. And because the sad situation is the easiest cause to steer revolution is when you charge an angry youth. The youths are getting angrier and angrier by the day. Yes.
All right. Let me come to you, Njoroge.
Yes.
We have some underlying factors. We have the high cost of living that you mentioned. We have the corruption. We have the, some call it total disregard to the rule of law. Yes. All this are some of the things that are actually, when you look at the way the nation should move forward, but when you picture in all these factors, then it's some sort of, derailing the process. Well, these are some of the problems that we face. They are there. There has been since for a very long time, as much as we can remember. However, we are confronted with things that we can change, but we are not changing. So the problem, once again, is it you, the young people? Are you the problem?
No. Okay, we as the young people got numbers, but we have no power. The people with the power have no numbers. Okay, those who dictate how the nation runs are the minority of this nation. What goes on in this nation? As for now, the cost of living, there's an excuse that it has not started today. It has started from the previous regime.
Okay.
And we're in a very bad government, a government that is filled with ignorance.
Okay. And just hold on for a minute. We'll proceed. When you talk about the young people, they don't have the power, and yet you talk about the very, very same power which it is your vote, your number. What do you mean when you say young people don't have power?
The power to act, the power to change. The power that we as the young men right now have is the power to put in the person you want. But once you've elected that leader, once that member of parliament goes to parliament, once that senator goes to the Senate, you have no power over him again. As from that time, he's the one who has power over you.
Okay.
He will, yes.
Well, probably in addition to what my brother is saying, in 2022, we had 19 million registered voters.
All right.
Up to 65%, that is including women, men, and the youth. turned out to vote. Now, the big question we're supposed to be asking ourselves here tonight, Evans, have we given up on democracy? Because if our issues day in, day out, and we are supposed to vote for change, vote for leaders who are going to bring roads, who are going to cater on issues of CDF. In our region, the population is big, and the cap of CDF is totally unshareable, because in a constituency where I come from, Roysambu, for example, the CDF is 200 million, rather, sorry. And we have a population, my registered voters are 145,000 approximately. Okay. Give it a figure that each family has roughly 2 kids, right? That's around, let me say, 300, right? Do the math. How much goes for per child in terms of education? Because the process of voting starts at the lowest level of education. Right. We talk about civil education. If I cannot understand why it is important to vote, then I will not wake up early in the morning to go and vote. All right. If I've given up on the process of voting, then it is very difficult for me to understand that it is by voting the right leaders, we're going to bring change in our society. Okay. That is why we are having these challenges in our countries today.
All right. You talk about change. So who will bring change? And here's a very interesting comparison between the generation of then the X generation versus now they call it the Z generation. Yeah. When you remember during the times of, the James Orengo, during their time, the youthful James Orengo, they used to actually, even they are termed as the father of the second liberation. They are very active in Kenyan politics just to shape the narrative. They really fought for the change that probably some of us are enjoying today, and maybe the future that they wanted for their children and their children of their children. And today's leaders, or rather the leaders of tomorrow, I'm talking about you, the youths, you have been termed as the lost generation. What is it about the youth of today that you're not doing right to actually, instead of lamenting about the problem, why don't you focus on solution?
The problem with today's young men and women, I think it's greed and fear. You cannot compare today's youth with the youth that was there during the Raila Amolo Odinga's time, when he was a youth. Those were radicals. But at this time, I don't know whether it's because of too much education or it's too much exposure. I don't know what is going on with this generation. So for the young men and women to be heard, there needs to be unity. They need to speak in one voice. Okay. So that they can bring change. Okay. But
I hear about the need.
Yes.
What is the solution?
Well,
even as we wind up this discussion because of time.
First of all, let us get it very clear. When the likes of James Orengo and Raila Amolo Odinga and the likes of Kenneth Matiba were fighting for the second liberation of this country, there was a cause they were fighting for. Right for freedom of speech, right for association, right of assembly. Probably we, the young people, are lacking or missing the cause.
All right.
But I would like it to challenge our young people, because our fathers and our grandfathers have done their bit. Today we are facing the issues of unemployment, and that's why you see where I come from, my party, Jubilee Party. We are raising these issues on the table. We are talking about the need of employment, that the youth have to speak up. I have gone to school, did an engineering course, but there are no job opportunities in this country. Who's supposed to create these opportunities? The opportunities and the policies are first made in Parliament. They're executed by the executive, right? Through the Ministry of Industry, right? Or Labor, right? Or or public service.
All right.
So if we understand these policies and laws very clearly as young people, we are able to stipulate and know our rights and what we are fighting for. So the moment we understand our cause, it becomes very easier to fight for what we want. And that is why we as a party clearly stipulate some of these issues. Yes.
Okay. Because we are running out of time, I'll give you 1 minute to actually for your closing remark. Each of you 1 minute, kindly, and I will begin with Njoroge.
Okay, thank you very much. As a youth leader in the Central Region, I would like to urge the leaders from the Central Region to unite. When I speak of our leaders, this is the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and Maina Jenga, the chairman. Because we as the young men, because as a region, as the Mount Kenya region, we are the most productive part in this nation. Because we hold agriculture, we hold the numbers that vote. So it's good we unite and speak in one language so that we can get development. Since once we go on these fights, once these fights go on, there'll be no development, there'll be misunderstanding, and it's shaming our community. I would also ask the young men to maintain decorum, peace, and unity. They should also adhere to the government policies. They should not engage themselves in.
Thank you. All right.
Thank
Because of time, pretty quick. Like we don't have time. 1 minute, kindly.
Thank you so much, Evans. First of all, I would like to thank you all the members of M-CUSA who tuned in tonight to take part into the discussion, because these are matters that are very sensitive to them. I'd like to give patronage to my national chairman, my national treasurer, and the people of Roysambu. And one thing I totally agree here with my good friend, the youth have to come together. We must have this conversation. Come 2027, because it's going to come, whether we like it or not. We have to be on the table. Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Asante sana. That is Nick Mwadime Mwangi, National Executive Director, M-CUSA. And of course, Edwin Njoroge, Wachera. Okay, Wachera, Youth Leader, Mount Kenya Region. Asante sana for making time. We wish we had, a lot of time to talk about these issues, but you'll have to bear with us for today. But all the same, thank you so much. Well, the Ministry of Education officials in Embu County have